The next lab that we're going to be doing is a two-part lab. On day 1, we will synthesize our material, and then on day 2, we'll purify it. So today what we're going to do is perform our reaction in a reflux setup, and I'll show you that first. So here's the setup we're going to use for our reflux. I've got a 25 milliliter round bottom flask at the bottom. I've got my condenser, the same condenser that we used for the distillation. We're going to be using it in an upright fashion today. And I've also got this drying tube. This drying tube has calcium chloride inside of it with some cotton to hold it in. This is optional, but recommended. In the acid and base hood, you will find the glacial acetic acid in a dispensing pump, and you'll also find the sulfuric acid that you'll need as well. At each pod, there'll be a selection of different alcohols, and you guys can really just choose whichever one you want to use. Make sure that each group is using a different one, but choose whichever one you like. The first thing you're going to do is get about 5 milliliters of your chosen alcohol and go ahead and just put that into a graduated cylinder. You can then weigh it and then pour it into your 25 milliliter round bottom flask and then reweigh it. The difference between your two weights, that's going to tell you exactly how much alcohol you put into your round bottom flask, and you can use that for your post-lab calculations. The next thing you want to do is get 7 mils of glacial acetic acid, and you can just put that straight in the same graduated cylinder that you used for your alcohol. The last thing that you're going to need to get is your sulfuric acid. So for most of the alcohols, you'll only need 1 milliliter, but for some of them, you'll need half of a milliliter. So make sure you know which one is which. Once you're ready to start your reflux, go ahead and add a boiling stone. And then you can connect your round bottom flask to the condenser. I've got my water flowing from the bottom up through the top and then back into the sink. And I've set my hot plate at about 300 degrees to get started. I think it says 280 right now. Just something that you're going to have to monitor as you go. It's been about 5 minutes and we can see that I've got a nice boil going already. And this is really what we're going to call a reflux. So I've got a boil, the vapor is rising up, and then it's cooling and condensing inside of the condenser. So that cold water is going to cool down that glassware, and then the vapor will recondense and drip back down into the round bottom flask. That's what a reflux is. Here you can just see that a little bit better. So it's been an hour of refluxing, and I'm ready to take my round bottom flask off and cool it in an ice bath. So I've pulled this up off of the hot plate, let it cool a little bit, and then I'm just going to take this off and put it onto an ice bath. Once the reaction mixture has cooled to room temperature, I'm going to go ahead and do the workup. And so here I've got my separatory funnel. I've also got 10 milliliters of water, 5 milliliters of sodium bicarbonate, and 5 milliliters of sodium chloride solutions ready to go for my extractions. So this is a separatory funnel, and the first thing you want to do is make sure that this part here is on tight. The other thing to keep in mind is that these things might leak. So anytime you're pouring liquid into your separatory funnel for the first time, it's a good idea to have a beaker underneath just in case. I'm now going to add the contents of my round bottom flask to my separatory funnel, and I'm just using a standard funnel here to help me with that process. Now that I've got my solution in my separatory funnel, the first thing I'm going to add is my 10 milliliters of water. And I'm going to start shaking this, as you'll see here. So put the stopper in the top, and then give it a little shake, and then every once in a while you want to vent this system. So I'm venting it by pointing it up in the air and then opening the stopcock on the bottom. That's going to release any residual pressure. You can then drain the bottom aqueous layer out of the separation funnel and proceed with your other washes. So here's the saturated sodium bicarbonate solution, and then lastly the saturated sodium chloride solution. Once I've shaken these all up and discarded the aqueous layers, I can then collect the organic layer, and I'm just going to pour that off. Some people say it's a better idea to pour this out the top so that any residual water does not contaminate your solution, but really it's not that big of a deal. Now that I've collected my organic layer, all I need to do is add my drying agent, and I'm adding about 1 gram here. And this is ready to be stored just like this over the weekend. So I can cover it with some parafilm, stretch out the parafilm to get a good seal. And this Erlenmeyer flask can be stored just like this over the weekend.